Okay, we are back on. Call to order the commission workshop for May 2nd. And the first item up tonight is consideration of resolution 1763. Who's taking this one? Stacy.
So to prepare for future storms and sea level rise, staff applied for a small coastal community grant through the Gulf of Mexico Alliance and was selected to receive $45,000 in grant funds to complete the following activities. 1, development of a staff operational manual for pre-storm activities, a post-disaster recovery plan, and mutual aid agreements. 2 is the development of invitation to bid documents and contracts for storm debris monitoring, removal, and public assistance, and updates to the city's debris management plan. 3 is the review and recommendation for updates to city development codes to address and mitigate potential climate change impacts, including minimum seawall height and freeboard requirements. And the task completion period is from June 1st, 2017 through November 30th, 2018. And to meet the 50% grant match requirement of $22,500, staff is planning to work with the State Alliance team to facilitate project activities and assist in report writing, review and updates, contract solicitation, and to conduct public outreach activities based on the work that we conduct. So no monetary match other than that staff time, which we will track along the way as required. So staff recommends that the City Commission approve Resolution 1763, approving the grant agreement with the Gulf of Mexico Alliance, providing funding in the amount of $45,000 for the development of plans, agreements, and policy recommendations to address climate change vulnerabilities.
Questions, Commission?
Free money, but you got to pay half. I love how government functions.
So what is the scope of this at a high level?
So it's several things. We're going to do everything we can with the money that we have. These are all things that we need anyway, so we are lucky to get a grant to do them. The first thing is a pre-storm operational manual for staff. So when a storm is approaching, like I know like the back of my hand all the things that Public Works does, but I'm not necessarily familiar with what the other departments need to do. So this is kind of putting everything together into one plan, so we're all kind of synced up on that. Another is a post-disaster recovery plan. If we had a Category 5 direct hit here, what would we do after that? What would be our plan for moving forward? Would we move forward? So that's another item. And then mutual aid agreements can be established with other cities. We were suggesting a similar sized city on the East Coast. In the event of a storm, we could maybe send some people over there to help them, and they could do the same, and that would provide training for us also. Invitation to bid documents and contracts for storm debris monitoring, removal, and public assistance. Those are items that we're required to have in case a storm comes to get the debris out of here and to qualify for FEMA reimbursement. And it's really tricky to keep up with those things because FEMA updates the requirements for those bid solicitations and contracts all the time. So it's really important that we get a contractor or consultant that is very knowledgeable in that area to work on those contracts for us. And the last thing is to review our city's development codes to look at anything that we can be doing a little bit better to potentially mitigate future issues.
So I think it's important that we have desktop procedures, as you mentioned, documented.
Right.
Where in here can we weave in our causeway as an evacuation route and how FEMA views not only our responsibility, but their responsibility to assist us in causeway integrity during a storm, because this is one of the things that is a burning platform for me, that the causeway really is an evacuation route that I don't think we properly identify with either state or federal agencies. And I know we've tried, and I know what I'm going to hear, but I still believe that it doesn't make any sense to drive down Gulf Boulevard and get to the Belmar and not make a right and not have be an official evacuation route. So if there's any way that we can creep that into the scope of work, I would think that would be a beneficial part of it?
This scope of work has already been approved, and that's kind of said and done, and it's a very ambitious scope of work for the amount of money that we have, so we're just gonna do everything we can under that. But in terms of the FEMA and evacuation route, that is something that Amy and I have been talking about over the past couple of days. And it is an established evacuation route, and there are maps at the state level that they provide that show those routes, and the Causeway being the lead evacuation route out of the city. I've asked staff today to do, we're in the process of doing a citywide sign inventory, but I asked them to specifically pull out for me where those evacuation route signs are. So we want to make sure that we're properly signing those areas. And we will look into seeing if there's any funding available because it's a private or a primary evacuation route. I know that if there was a storm and there was damage to that area, certainly we would be reimbursed for our percentage of the cost to reinstate that route. I'm just not sure about maintenance.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Move it forward?
Yeah, move it on.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Stacy. Okay, next item, consider Resolution 1744, a continuation of our previous discussion. Mike?
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Staff is requesting authorization to purchase a beach garbage and recycling collection vehicle from Broy Hill Incorporated. On the beach, we have approximately 150 trash cans and recycling cans that we pick up during each season, 7 days a week, and then off-season, I think I put in there around 3 days a week that we pick it up Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. This time of year, we're picking it up 7 days a week. Currently, how we do it is we have two different trucks. We use a 2-ton 4-wheel drive pickup truck pulling a 3 cubic yard dumpster and manually dispose of the trash in those cans. And we also use our old Peterbilt automated truck on the areas that we can get to, which is the main beach area. But as you know, driving that big truck on the beach, it just really wears the truck out. We looked at different alternatives for putting together a 4-wheel drive beach garbage truck. And what we found out that the only one that was really good for us was the Broy Hill. It's made specifically for the beaches, for soft sand, and also Clearwater, City of Clearwater has them, and they've been using them for about 7 years. So we went ahead and borrowed one from them. They allowed it, they towed it down here for us, and then we got to use it for 2 days. It worked out really good for us. So what we did is we went ahead and basically sole sourced this this company because they're the only ones that really make this type of vehicle. The advantages of the Broy Hill for the city beaches are decreased collection time, capacity of 6.5 tons when full, and has low pressure turf tires. It's 4-wheel drive. It actually articulates in the center, so you have a very quick, very good turning radius. And also, the collection is automatic, so then you don't have to injure the work on the driver is minimal. It's just driving it around. We obtained a quote from Roy Hill for a load and pack with 5 removable containers. Because you compact it in there, we're going to have different ones. What will happen is for the recycling, we'll use a front loading to remove the recycling, which is done by Pinellas County. They take our recycling off the beach as a favor to us, so we don't have to pay for that. And then we have for the actual trash, we use the rear loading dumpster, so that we can then take that dumpster and put it into the rear loading garbage truck that will then go back and forth from from the landfill. So we're not driving that vehicle on the road there, to the landfill. Currently, in season, staff collects and solid waste and recycling 7 days a week. The task is accomplished using a two-man crew, a pickup truck, and a pull-behind dumpster. It takes approximately 6 to 8 man-hours per day during our heavy season. At an average burden rate of hourly rate of $30 per hour, which is a little bit on the high side. I actually crunched some numbers, but 30 is a good number. It's even, so you can multiply it quickly. Labor cost is approximately $6,720 per month. During off-season, staff collects garbage at a minimum 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and the off-season labor cost is $2,880 per month. Season is approximately 5 months out of the year. Calculate, just kind of an average. What I did was we did a return on investment just on the labor. There's a return on investment that we did not calculate because we don't have one of these before, but the manufacturer claims a 2.5-year return on investment because of the less maintenance that you would have than using a different type of a side loader, which is like the one that we have. Return on investment was approximately 5 years. We plan on keeping this vehicle probably up to 8 years if we can get it that far. Again, we're using it just for the beach, and so we may be able to expand that out a little bit further. But through the 8 years, the city will save up to $120,000 in labor. Due to the specialization of this type of equipment, the purchase is considered a sole source. The equipment purchase as part of the capital improvement plan is included in the fiscal year 2017 budget in the amount of $200,000 for a new automated vehicle and account 430, 53,400, 64,200 within the solid waste. Recommendation, staff recommends that the City Commission approve Resolution 1744, authorizing the purchase of the 2017 Broyhill Load and Pack, including containers for the use on the city's beach for garbage and recycling collection in the amount of $197,280.
Don't we have some beaches in Florida that just don't even have garbage cans on them, and they put them out closer to the road on the way out? And then we need to really try to see if we can somehow enforce some sort of litter ordinances on the beach. Once word gets out that we've written just a few tickets, maybe, but we do have those. We've got 150 cans on the beach, and we've got all these walkovers. And I know that people, go into the hotels and things. If there's not a can, most people will take all their stuff off the beach with them. That's my opinion. So there are a few beaches in Florida that just don't provide cans. Are you aware of that?
I am not aware of that.
Maybe we should just check into that. I've had that suggestion done. Most people will not leave a bunch of McDonald's bags and cups and things on the beach. It's just a thought. And then
On Sunday evening, there's a drum circle, and
Yeah.
we have trash cans all around that area, and that place on Monday morning, we have to pick up. So,
But that's kind of an anomaly. That's not your average beachgoer, right? They come for the circle, make a mess, and leave, right? Okay.
I would just say that on Monday morning, when I take my run, every one of those containers is overflowing.
Yep.
The park is overflowing. The crows are having a heyday.
Right.
And so, collection is important, but a 5-year payback is not acceptable, in my opinion, anyway. We need to start to look at a different way, but collection's important. The garbage is all over the place.
I agree.
I think we need more capacity than less, because every one of them are full. And it really hurts my heart when I go down there and I see diapers and just all kinds of stuff all over the beach. And anything that we can do to police that up and be more vigilant. But a 5-year payback, you know, just from a business standpoint, maybe there's a different approach that we can look at. That's my 2 cents on that. Go ahead.
I don't know, since we're talking about what's going on the beach, I think that we also need to look at, I guess I have some constituents, and this is not really related, but it is because apparently there's been some driving on the beach behind Treasure Sands and so forth. And we've got wooden barriers pounded in there. There's wooden barriers in there, 2x4 barriers and so forth, so that whoever it is doesn't drive on the beach. Anybody speak to that? Does anybody know about that? Do you know anything about that? You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
First of all, a lot of a good majority of the vegetation behind there, and sometimes there's garbage there, but the people there keep it pretty well picked up. I'll tell you what, I won't circumvent this, we'll talk about it later, but we've got a problem there, and a lot of the stuff that we're talking about regarding beach vegetation, which is also, in my opinion, some of it just looks like trash, is that most of those things are not are native, but they're not protected, and that stuff that's growing out there. And so I've been talking to the people at the DEP, and we're going to see hopefully what we can do to make that part of the beach look better. But you know, if I don't run the beach like you do, so if it's overflowing the cans, we've got to do something about that. But there are some. I've been told there are some beaches in Florida. I will do some research in the next 2 weeks and come back to see which ones don't put cans on the beach. But based on what Ralph is saying, maybe that's just not a model that we can sustain here. So,
Well, and again, Ken, Commissioner Keys, it's over the weekend, and it's that weekend traffic. It's not every day of the week, but during the weekend, there's significant overflow, I guess you'd say. And
that's true.
you would probably agree with that.
Yes. We pick it up 7 days a week during season. So on that Sunday, we pick it up in the morning,
Right.
probably around 9 o'clock. And so if it's heavy use out there, we don't come back until Monday morning to pick it up.
And I just wanted to mention too, thank you for sending out the notice on the liquids and the commercial containers. I appreciate that.
You're
because it's a problem.
Question, Mike. When you look at the number of collection days and the man-hours per day, with the pack and load, you've got 2 man-hours per day.
Correct.
Can this piece of equipment, is Madeira Beach interested in it? Is St. Pete Beach interested? Any other beaches?
St. Pete Beach, well, I think you and Amy talked to them. Did you want to come up here and talk to them about it?
St. Pete Beach is very interested in that piece of equipment. They love that Clearwater uses it, and they've gone down there and looked at it. The thing is, in St. Pete Beach, for a long time, Progressive has served their city and actually does some collection on the beach. They actually do it by hand also. So they switch out the cans, and when the back of the pickup truck has all of the cans full, they go and take those to a dumpster, and then they put new cans on. And I spoke to Progressive today, and they too said that they were interested in buying this piece of equipment. So it kind of speaks to the fact that it's legitimate sole source. Like, this is the piece of equipment for the beach. So that being said, Progressive goes out there and does their waste once a day in season, but the City of St. Pete staff is also having to supplement and going out there another time. So everything they're doing is by hand, and it's very hard work. Those cans get heavy. The ones we have out there now don't have lids on them. They get like other stuff in it, and birds take it out. So we'll also be bringing to you at budget season a replacement of those cans to make them look nicer, and to have lids on them so crows and stuff can't get in them.
The real nature of my question was, is there an opportunity to work with our neighboring communities, offering a service to them, or at least leasing the vehicle on a temporary basis to them?
Because they contract out, I'm not sure. So they just supplement when they have to. I'm not familiar with Madeira Beach. That's just St. Pete Beach, but we could reach out to them.
Yeah.
Madeira Beach, they have their trash cans at the dune walkovers or the access. And again, they have a very narrow beach, so it's right there. And I don't believe that I think they do it themselves by grabbing the can, dumping it in the truck, and then running it back. I know that they don't drive up and down the beach collecting
Well,
the garbage.
maybe explore with our neighboring communities if there's an opportunity for us to, we have a piece of equipment, they might need it. Is there an opportunity there?
But would there be enough time for them to pick it up and run it down there and run it the other direction
Well-
or what have you? I don't know if you're talking
We're-
about sharing the equipment maybe.
We're
Rather-
down here for 2 man-hours a day.
I'm thinking, though, rather than share equipment, you know how that is when you share equipment. I would rather see some approach to maybe subcontracting the service. In other words, our people go to Madeira Beach or St. Pete Beach and pick up their trash and charge them a fee rather than loaning our equipment out, because equipment never comes back in the same condition it goes out. So I certainly wouldn't be in favor of loaning the equipment out.
Mike, do you think,
Renting it out.
do you
Yeah,
think?
they Clearwater they towed they put it on the back of a flatbed and they drove it down here. It's not supposed to be driven on the street.
Right, okay.
And from time to time, we've borrowed equipment from Madeira, correct?
Correct.
Garbage trucks?
Yep.
Okay, shall I move it forward? What are your thoughts? Or do you want more? This is in the budget, by the way.
We'll get another shot at it if we need to.
We do.
Okay.
What do you
I-
think?
To Larry's point, though, I'd like to see us expand this a little bit to say, what are our other options? Lease, outsource,
Mhm.
you know, a number of things that we ought to look at, inclusive of your recommendation on this piece of equipment.
If you'll note in the advertisement component of that thing, that Broyhill indicates that City of Clearwater, Crandon Park, Miami-Dade County, 2 different operations there, are ones that they have sold this equipment to. And so it looks like to me there are not that many places in Florida that have this equipment, and we might very well make $1 or 2 out of using it in other jurisdictions, adjacent jurisdictions. Because it seems like an awfully efficient way to do. And of course, in contrast with the comments that Commissioner Keys made concerning moving the collection containers closer to the road, the nature of people are that they take the path of least resistance. And my experience has been that if there's not a convenient means of disposing, they'll figure out some alternate place. And it seems like to me that more containers on the beach would be better than less, and especially if we have the equipment that can handle it conveniently. And that would avoid this overflow that we're talking about at the collection points now. We don't provide enough of the collection components, and of course we do that because of the labor aspect, but if we get the equipment, then we don't have a labor problem. So that's my thinking.
Well, I don't disagree to move it forward. I just,
Move it
Sure.
forward.
but yeah, but really, we've discussed what some of the other cities do.
Sure.
Maybe we could ask our interim city manager to reach out to Madeira Beach and see how much garbage they wind up having on the beach, since they have been moving their cans to the other side of the walkovers, and see if there's been some education, or if it's proposed, or if their beaches have, just as much garbage as if they would if they had a can on the beach. So our neighbor does just that, moves them out, according to you, moves them out to the walkovers, correct?
Again, Mike,
It's on the beach side of the walkover.
Which is where we put our cans, right?
We put them all the way down to the beach.
But there's always some by the walkovers and all the accesses have
Correct.
them, right? Yeah.
I mean, we can certainly ask them, but their beach is so much more narrow. It's just
Yeah.
a different kind of
It's a different
beach.
So there's always one closer than ours.
But we can certainly talk with, I think City of St. Pete Beach has a better chance for maybe doing something. I'm not sure how we would get the piece of equipment back and forth though, because we don't have a flatbed truck.
Well, if it was
And I don't want to
economical,
see one in the
you could
budget.
get a flatbed. You know, that,
One of the things I just wanted to express is, staff really spent a lot of time researching different options. This was by far what we decided was the best. Having 6 man-hours, 2 guys, I mean, the workers' comp claims itself, while we can't quantify that exactly, that cost is one of those things that we haven't quantified towards that. So I just wanted to stress that we did do a lot of research, and this is kind of the newest and latest and greatest that the beaches that do well with garbage pickups are using. But I know it's a big price tag, so I think we should talk to City of St. Pete just to see if there's any other options and see if there's any contracts available that use something similar. But I did want to stress, we can try to do that over the next 2 weeks, that we did spend a lot of time researching all kinds of various scenarios of trying to make a pickup truck. I mean, there was some strange things that we looked into to try to kind of get a vehicle that would work better. And this one's proven, so that's, we don't have to kind of make something up, so that's one of the reasons that we decided to present it to the commission. There is also a YouTube video that we could send to you that you can see how it works in action, if that also just helps with the education on this particular piece of machinery.
Okay, well, if you'll have those questions ready for us, answered, ready for us next meeting? Okay with the commission? Okay, we'll move that one forward. Thank you, Mike. Thanks, Stacy. Okay, item 3.
Mike, did Mark take my iPad?
Yeah.
Did he?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, item 3, the alcohol. Who's up on this?
I'm up.
Ken? Okay.
So I've spoken to some of the bar owners, and we definitely are in a hole looking up, especially in the mornings. And our Publix here is also in a hole looking up that they're not selling alcohol, and the grocery stores on north and south of us, and even restaurants regarding alcohol sales at 8 a.m. So I would suggest that we fall in line here so that we don't have tourists that come up here and wind up, you know, being unhappy about it and turning around and going back, and also even our own people. So just my thought that we should mirror what the county does, which is what we voted for the last time.
And I think
Yeah.
we talked about it. Jennifer, is there any mechanism that we can put this as a consent item, and no, not for this meeting?
Not for an ordinance change. For an ordinance change, you have, there are certain notice requirements that have to occur with publication, and then there needs to be a full public hearing and
So
readings on.
When we last voted on this, it was a workshop item?
yeah,
It was a workshop item without the ordinance. So basically, it was the concept, here's the construct of what it'll actually look like in your code.
Okay.
And one of the things, one of the directions was that the hours should be from
8
8 to 2 instead of
Okay.
the 8 to 3, which is the
Understood.
county. So that's included in here. So now you're getting one more look, and then if this is good to move forward, the proper notice will go out, and then it'll be on a
Understood.
subsequent
Thank you.
agenda. Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, move it forward?
move it forward.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Old business, city commission.
I don't have anything. I did get some calls concerning overflowing containers on the beach, and I contacted Mike Helfrich's office, and his staff took prompt action, and my complainant was very well pleased with the way things were handled, but that is consistent with the observations of Commissioner Keys that these containers are frequently overflowing. And of course, that goes back to my comment concerning the fact that we probably need more containers on the beach rather than less containers on the beach. And of course, our beach is much wider than any beach in Florida, basically. And so that means that we have more people, more containers required to keep the trash contained. Anyway, that's the only comment I have.
Okay, so, Mike, this comment is just in general. Residents of Paradise Island and surrounding areas have gone now from a 2-day pickup schedule for trash, brush, to 4 days now. And I understand the brush part of it on Wednesdays. We now have recycling on Monday, trash on Tuesday, brush on Wednesday, and trash on Friday. And the concern is, and I feel it myself, and I'm sure the mayor does as well, we've gone from 2 days now to 4 days of pushing something down to the curb. And so it's a concern, and it's something we need to put in the forefront of how we're going to address it. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know why the recycling was changed, and I'm sure somebody will give me a history lesson on that. But it's a concern in the neighborhood. Everybody needs to lock their vehicles. It's an epidemic. It's been hitting our neighborhood. I watched it on my cameras. They're very efficient at what they do. They come through the neighborhood and check the doors, and they move on. They cleared our street in 7 minutes and stole a car down the street. And then, you know, I think lastly, everybody needs to keep an open mind about Treasure Bay. It's very near and dear to my heart. I used to swim over there with my dad when there was a pool there. There's no foregone conclusions. I want everybody in the community to know that we have an open mind to it. I want to reprioritize how we take care of Treasure Bay. The highest priority is to get water over there. The reclaim service that we're getting from the county right now is unacceptable. I can't keep my car clean because it runs at 5:30 in the morning, and all it does is it spills into the street. There's not even enough pressure to push the pistons up in the sprinklers. So I can imagine the angst that the guys that are taking care of the golf course are going through. I mean, it's unbelievable. I spent a couple of hours out there this week, and we don't have water service, and I don't know what the answer is to that. And Mike, I am not laying that on you or Kathy, but I think that's a great start, is to be able to maintain, you know, the greens, be able to market the golf course. But our water pressure out there it's horrible, and I know you live out there. All we're doing is watering the street in the morning, and we're at the end of the line. I understand. Maybe there's an option to get service from the city of St. Petersburg, and I'll leave it at that. I appreciate everybody listening to me go on about that.
I'm done.
Oh, great. Make me look bad.
I don't have anything on the rolled business, so I'll go to city attorney.
I just have a quick clarification for the record, and that is a quick note related to Mr. Silverberg's departure. As you all know, City Commission chose to involuntarily terminate Mr. Silverberg during its second meeting in March. So it's effective on May 8th. And on May 8th, pursuant to the decisions of the Commission at the last meeting, Ms. Amy Davis will officially take the position of the interim city manager, and I just needed to clarify those specific facts and actions taken by the Commission on the record. Thank you for your indulgence.
City manager, Amy?
I just have 3 quick things. So the Hands of Sand event is May 20th, that Greg Tong was referring to earlier. Today, the Senate moved forward the bill to add another $25,000 homeowner the homestead exemption. So that looks like it will be going forward for a vote for a constitutional amendment. November 2018 is when it will be on referendum, and it will take place on January of 2019. That's when they take the snapshot of our property values, which will be for the fiscal year 2020 budget. So we have 2 years before that impact is felt in our budget. Today, that impact, as I've written to you all, is about $167,000. That's probably projected to grow by the time 2020 comes around. So that's out there, and moved forward today. And I'll try to send an update if you guys don't get it. I'm not quite sure. Are you getting all the legislative updates? Because the session will end Friday. You feel like you're getting
I did-
those updates?
Did they uphold home rule?
Hmm.
Did they uphold home rule?
This isn't a home rule issue.
I know, but I'm talking about the legislature.
The other ones?
Yeah.
Well, because it ends Friday, they're all kind of, I didn't check all of them. I was most concerned about this one, but
Right.
when Friday comes, we'll have the status of where all the bills are. Do you know if any
I didn't
particular
get one at the Sunset League of Cities.
No.
Yeah,
I
You're-
believe
you're-
that one's
Suncoast League of
queued up
Cities
to-
lunch, they didn't have any information at that point either.
yeah. So I'll just try to provide a quick update, whether it's sent to us or pulling out the key ones that I think have the biggest impact to us as a municipality, and provide that to you next week. Last but not least, an announcement, May 10th at 6 o'clock at the Community Center is our second input session for Treasure Bay, and all is welcome to participate. We want to hear from everyone, so we encourage participation.
I'd like to comment on this $25,000 additional homestead. Don't you believe that the values of the real estate will increase between now and 19 that might very well offset that loss in revenue? I know my wife sells real estate for Century 21 here, Jim White, and all the property values are increasing. And if we had a fair amount of appreciation, it might end up with a neutral result as far as the revenue is concerned.
Possibly. I mean, we don't have a crystal ball, but
No,
I
but-
hope.
Would hope, yes, okay. So we may not sustain a $167,000 worth of reduced revenue.
I think it's gonna be pretty close to that.
Okay. I didn't know whether
My
you'd taken
personal
that into account in your calculation, or whether that's based on today's
It's just-
property
It's
values.
just today, and it's a little rough. One of the bill changes at the last minute was, they were just talking about an additional $25,000, and that was for any value of home. And then at the last minute, it looked like they amended the bill that the home value now needs to be 100 to 125 to gain that third 25,000. So the first 50 has 25, second 50 has 25,000 exemption, and then the third 50,000 of, well, I guess it's the third 25,000 amount of value will, so that will help, not have homes and properties just fall off the tax rolls
Right,
because they
right.
stepped it out. So that will be, it's a less impact, so hopefully it will be less, but it's really hard to say because it also
Sure.
depends on how many homesteaded properties, which, in Treasure Island, we have approximately 2,000 that are homesteaded,
Out of a total of,
about 52-ish.
Anything else, Amy?
Thank you, Amy.
Okay, commission comments?
I have nothing.
nothing.
Well, I have a happy one to report, and we'll see if it sticks, but we have been notified that the city of Treasure Island has a $500,000 in the budget, in the state budget, for causeway maintenance and improvement. We recall our discussion about the east portion of the causeway. It's in there. There's also $200,000 in that budget for City of St. Pete to finish up their bike trail design. So keep your fingers crossed that it doesn't get vetoed by Governor Scott.
Well, according to our former city manager, I believe he said $1.2 million to bring the causeway up to standards so we'd be about $500,000 light even with this contribution.
Well, Rome wasn't built in a day.
Okay, no, I'm just, sure. Anything is a help.
Anything is a help. So I'm very, very pleased that at least it's in the budget. We'll see whether or not it sticks. And that's all I had this evening. So public comment? We're open for public comment? Seeing no public comment, meeting is adjourned.